We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining this lovely, Tuesday? My name is Adam Sewall. I'm head of marketing here at Density. And welcome to today's webinar. We're going to run you through Density for Physical Security. We're going to give you a quick background on the company. We will do a live demo of our anti-tailgating, our tailgating detection solution. We've never done it live, so you're going to see something brand new today here on the webinar, which is fantastic. Murphy's Law may apply, but we're gonna do it live. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll run you through any questions or answers that you may have about Density, about how this solution works, etc. So thank you all so much for joining. We know it's a busy time of year with the summer, and every hour you spend away from either work or your family's an hour you could be doing something else with. So I just want to say thank you. As many of you saw, we are offering an Amazon gift card. So if you've got a valid work email, you're a full-time professional in security, IT, facilities management, or related field, and you attend this webinar in its entirety, we will send you an Amazon gift card worth $20. So no, just really appreciate you joining today and listening to what I've got to say. As I mentioned, as part of this webinar, we're going to be doing a live demo. We've got our Density units here installed at our main floor here in our HQ in San Francisco. So if you'd like to receive a notification when a tailgating event is detected, go ahead and send your mobile number to Megan. She's here in the room with me. She's helping run the webinar. Or send a quick note to her in Zoom. We're not going to keep your mobile number, but when we do the demo, you will get notified that the tailgating event has occurred. It'll just give you a sense of what the solution is capable of and how it works. And if you got questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Enter them in the Q&A box there at the bottom of your screen or the top of your screen, and we'll get to them there at the end of the webinar. All right, so just really quickly, quick background on Density. We were founded in 2014. We've got engineering and hardware team with experience from NASA, Genentech, Microsoft, Apple, Stanford University, and a number of other global names. And our focus really is to create systems that improve the efficiency, safety, and performance of our customers' buildings and real estate. We do that by creating the most advanced people counting sensor on the market. So this is what Density does. We have a PoE sensor, which we're going to preview a lot and talk a lot about today. And what this sensor does is it accurately and anonymously counts people in real time. It uses onboard infrared lasers, and it resolves count locally on the device and provides that accurate count via a cloud service, via API, via mobile app, or our dashboard. And so this is really what powers our tailgating solution, is this device that can accurately count people in real time. Just a quick view of some of the customers we're working with and helping out. Together, our customers represent about 100 million square feet of corporate and commercial real estate. We're helping these teams strengthen physical security, improve emergency response efforts. We're also helping workplace and FM teams improve how they run their operations and how they make decisions around space. So figuring out what types of conference rooms they need, how much space do they need to allocate for each team, if they're going to grow or shrink, how do they do that in a cost-effective manner. And it's all really powered by people count. So we're able to count how many people use different spaces, rooms, floors, buildings, etc. And that data is available in real time as well as through trend analysis and analytics. And so it's a powerful platform for understanding how space is utilized. And specifically in this particular case, how you can use that data to improve the security for facilities. Okay, so transitioning now and talking about tailgating, many of you on the call, I'm sure, are familiar with what tailgating or what's sometimes referred to as piggybacking is. It's when you have a credentialed person or personnel access a building or space in your facility with a proximity card or some sort of other identification, and they open the door and more than one person enters. It's a really challenging problem because it has to be addressed in real time. If you miss it, it's not something you can go address after it's already happened. That person's gained access to your facility. They're roaming the floor kind of unattended. And so for doors that don't have security personnel, or for doors that, secondary doors, this is a big problem. We've seen across a lot of different sectors, across a lot of different industries. There's just a couple stats here. We're not going to go into too much of detail here, because any security director or security manager I speak to, if tailgating comes up, they often say it's one of the top 3 things that they think about, and they're actively looking for solutions for. This is what it looks like in the real world. And again, many of you on the call are probably familiar with this. This is security footage that was taken from a customer before they bought Density, before they installed Density. You can see we've got a credentialed employee accessing the building around in the evening hours there. And this person who comes in, very nonchalant, looking on their phone, looks like an employee, comes in and tailgates in. This person stole about $20,000 worth of laptops, and it took the physical security team about 2 weeks to comb through all the footage and figure out when this event had occurred. So this customer was Dropbox. Chris Bauer over there, who's the physical security systems architect that we've worked with for the past, almost a year now, found Density, installed it, integrated it with his access control system, which is a Vigilon, and was able to actively and in real time detect when tailgating events were happening. We'll get into a few details on how that integration helps his team, but there's a number of different dispatch protocols that he initiates when an event occurs. One is there's a soft chirp alarm there at the door. This is at their office here in San Francisco, notifying and kind of bringing attention to the fact that a tailgating event occurred to employees, because getting employees aware of the issue is part of the way to combat it in the long term. They also flag a timestamp in their security footage, so it's easy to review. And in their GSOC, their Global Security Operations Center, they instantly bring up that camera feed that's at the door, and they're able to validate, is this a person that we believe to be credentialed, or do we need to go send a security guard down to intercept and talk to the person and see what's going on? Okay. So I did want to just talk really briefly about how the device works. We'll show another picture of the sensor itself, but it goes above a doorway, and it uses infrared lasers. Those lasers are capturing depth measurements, and it's about 30 frames per second of depth. And depth, as we'll talk about a little bit later, is what enables our high accuracy rates. So compared to like a pixel or RGB based camera, these are depth measurements. We then run powerful algorithms on the device itself that continually learn over time. And so again, the tolerance for accuracy here needs to be very high. So on the left there, you can see the device has the raw data. This is what the device, quote unquote, sees. And then on the right, you'll see that onboard deep learning, the algorithms are processing in real time, ignoring what is not human and identifying what is human. And then the device sends the count of people in real time over an IP connection. So once installed, what you would get is, we're going to get into the live demo here. So, but essentially what we want to show is be alerted in real time when these events happen in an accurate way, and then also start to understand how pervasive is your tailgating issue. Most of the folks we talk to say it's a very big issue, but they don't know exactly which doors are tailgated and when, how frequently. Are they tailgated more often during the day versus the evening hours? As you start looking at installing Density in this way, you can start to aggregate some of those metrics and understand, okay, 30% of the people who enter our building are actually tailgating. What types of programming and intervention and mitigation measures can we put in place to bring that number down? And also, how do we start intercepting some of these events in real time to strengthen security of the building? Okay, so now I'm going to ask for everyone's patience here. This is the first time we've done this on a webinar, and so a couple things are going to happen. I'm going to unplug my audio. So the audio is going to get a little crappy, to be completely honest. We're going to walk into the main floor here, and we're going to go into a conference room where we have a Density device installed above the doorway, and then we've got an access control proxy card on the door, and we're gonna demonstrate what this looks like. And again, if you haven't sent your mobile number to Megan, It's megan@density.io, or you can just enter it here in the private chat, and we'll make sure you're in the system, and we can get you that notification when it happens. All right, so let's go. Okay. I'm going to give my laptop here to Megan. All right, so this is floor 1 of our office. Welcome to sunny San Francisco. Okay, so this is Johnson, which is a conference room here in San Francisco. You can see we've got the density depth processing unit, the sensor above the doorway there. It's actively scanning below the doorway, waiting to count people. And so I'm a person, I'm gonna walk through the door, we're gonna see what happens. Here is the proxy card. So it's got a little dongle here. I'll demonstrate just a non-tailgating instance just to show what it would look like, and then we'll do the tailgating instance. Okay, that wasn't very exciting because nothing happened. Now what we're gonna do is Megan's gonna follow me through the doorway. The device is gonna count 2 people. The access control is gonna count 1 swipe, and then we're gonna compare the 2, and if there's a discrepancy, we'll fire an alert. So I'm gonna get it on my phone. If you've entered your mobile number, you'll get one as well. You ready, Megan?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
All right, Murphy's Law does apply. Give me 1 second. I think someone just provided their phone number, so we're entering it into our system. We've got Isaac in there. Okay, we've got the phone number in. Here we go.
Ready to go. Let's go. Badge.
Okay.
There you go.
There's my notification. If you've provided for a number, tailgating instance detected at Johnson's conference room with the timestamp there. So that's just one example of something, a business rule or a security rule that you could integrate with the density solution, depending if you want an alarm or an alert. You know, some folks are talking about locking a secondary door in a vestibule. There's really, depending on how you want to integrate the density solution, there's a bunch of different options that you could do. You know, if you're interested, after this webinar, we'd be happy to walk you through how we typically roll the solution out with folks. I think starting with some specific doorways and just getting an understanding of how frequently those doorways are being tailgated is kind of step 1, and then integrating it further into your system, your security system stack is kind of the secondary step. So I'm gonna plug my audio back in and we'll just wrap up here. All right, is that better? Excellent. Okay, well, a lot of folks are, you know, typically look at something like this and say, well, why not use a different technology? Why not use a camera? And really, there's 3 things that matter when you're looking at solving some of these problems. First, accuracy is very important. And I will say density in ideal install conditions achieves about 97 to 98% count accuracy on the number of people going in and out of that doorway. So it's higher than what cameras are capable of doing today. That doesn't mean that it's 100% perfect, however. And so we'll be completely upfront in that density will, in some cases, if you count 1,000 people and you're counting 97%, you know, you're still going to have a handful of cases where density is inaccurate, but it's much more accurate than what's on the market today. The second component is that count needs to be available in real time. It's not valuable to be able to say, hey, you know, let's go review that tailgating incident from like 4 weeks ago. You want to be able to fire a business rule, fire a security rule, and have your staff respond in a way that makes sense for your team. And then third, you want a solution that's scalable. So, you know, there are solutions on the market that are upwards of 250 grand for a man trap to lock somebody in a vestibule. If you're looking at deploying those across all of your entryways, that gets very costly and very expensive. In a lot of cases, secondary doors or loading docks and things like that don't necessarily make sense to be putting turnstiles and other heavy-handed solutions in. So those are the three things that we think Density is particularly well positioned for: is accuracy, real-time count, and being able to be scalable. So putting these devices and integrating into your access controls across your buildings, across potentially even different access control systems. Density doesn't really care. Density is providing the count. So here's really briefly what it looks like. You install it above a doorway. We would work with you depending on your access control system to make sure that integration happens in a way that works for what you're looking to do. And then you get those real-time counts, on your phone or wherever else you want to do. Yeah. All right. Well, we did a lot, so that's good. Here is just a quick look at those rules that the dispatch protocols that Dropbox has implemented with us with Avigilon. So we've got that DPU above the doorway, the proxy card integration. There's that soft chirp alarm that happens, and then that security timestamp. They are Chris over there is looking at potentially adding a second door to lock folks out in that instance. And they've also been able to reduce some night shifts for security guards, which has been both good for the staff as well as for Chris and his team. Just a real quick note, as I mentioned on accuracy, one of the things that we do during configuration is each device is validated for being accurate in its environment. And we use that audit process to annotate the data that the unit sees and feed it back into the algorithm to make sure that all of these devices continue to improve on the accuracy front. So if you want to get started, we're happy to chat with you after this call. One thing that we like to do with folks is step one, just get the devices up and start counting entrances and exits for 30 days. And we can compare that manually or in a spreadsheet against what you're seeing from your access control, and you can get a sense of how big the problem is. Step two typically is, all right, we're going to do the integration with your access control and start to integrate that data into your business, your security team workflows. And then, as you gain confidence in the system and as your staff get more comfortable with the system, expand from there. One quick note, where is it a good fit? We see a good fit for secondary doors and unmanned entrances. Density works well for doors that are up to about 8 feet wide and about 10 and a half feet high. So that's a perfect fit for putting Density in. If you've got really high foot traffic, especially during daytime hours, the access control badge swipe systems typically have higher latency that might not create the best experience. So we want to make sure that we go through those details with you. If a swipe for the access control takes about a second to process and you've got 30 people coming through a main entrance, we just want to make sure that that our solution would work well with that. Density can count 30 people in real time, no problem. It's usually the access control that imposes that restriction. So yeah, here's what we can do for you. If you want to get started, we do these 30-day tailgating assessments where we ship you a unit. You can put it over a door. You can just start counting the data. It's not integrated in your access control system at this standpoint, but it gets you familiar with what the data looks like. You can start to see real-time occupancy of your building if you've got it on the exits and entrances of your building. You can start to understand tailgating. Here's what that would look like, just really quickly. You'd get, at the end of the 30 days, we'd show you an accuracy audit, demonstrating how accurate the device was, and then we could help walk you through how we would compare the Density entrances to your badge swipes from your access control, and that would give you a sense. Here on the right, you can see, loading one has a lot of tailgating, and since it's actually 50%, which is pretty high. Okay. With that, I think we've got a few questions which we can jump into. All right. Okay, so it looks like Brian wants to know how we handle situations like delivery people who must go through the door but won't have a badge. That is a good question. if a delivery person is following in someone with a badge, that would probably, that's not something that we would have nuance enough to differentiate the delivery person from other folks. What I would say is that generally the majority of tailgaters are not malicious, meaning it's usually common courtesy for employees or other workers to just, I do it. Actually, I was on Office the other day. Someone let me into the building, and what we found is that security teams want to identify when it's happening for peace of mind, but also not all tailgaters are just totally innocent. And so in that case, I would say we would want to make sure that the integration or how you're using the data, your team understands what it means, and so that if a delivery person does come, it would probably be ignored. But it's an interesting question. Brian, would love to chat more with you kind of about your use case. Another following question from Brian: is it more common to put the solution on external doors or internally or highly secure doors like those to a data center? That's a great question. We're working with a number of very large names in the data center space for exactly that. And in a lot of cases, those customers want to understand when tailgating happens. Interestingly, there's also a case for they want to make sure that no one is in the data room alone. So 2 swipes, 2 people. So those are the types of things that, depending on how you want to do that deployment or that solution, our team can help think through that for you. But I will say it's probably about 75% of people are doing the main entrances to their building and the secondary entrances to their building to get a sense of total building occupancy, but also total building tailgating. And then 25% are kind of like internal rooms and spaces that should be secured, like data closets and data rooms and things like that. Can you tell if someone swipes the same badge twice? Good follow-on question, Brian. That would be something that we'd have to ask our technical team. It would be, the data is coming from the access control. And so I don't see why not. From a technical perspective, but let me validate that with you, Brian, and we can follow up after the webinar and answer that question for you more specifically. Looks like a couple more questions here I've got coming up on my phone. Okay, can you clarify, is the audible chirp function the only way alerts can be fired, or can we get alerted and notified another way? That's a great question. So the density device really provides the count. And then depending on how the device is deployed in the solution, we could work with you on a bunch of different options. We have folks who want to have a security stamp, a timestamp on their security VMS fired. We have other folks who want to hear the alarm. We have other folks who want to get a text message. So currently the way that we work is that this is a solution, meaning we want to sit down with you, understand what your security systems look like, work with our technical team, and we would propose like, hey, here's the integration, here's how it would work, and then we would move forward. We are working on a number of kind of out-of-the-box integrations, and I can provide more information about that on a call after this if you'd like. Looking at some of the primary access control providers. So if you have one in mind, certainly let us know, and we can chat with you about that. Another question: how does the data get to the cloud? Who owns the data in the cloud? So the end customer, you own the data. Density's cloud service is built on AWS. The device communicates over port 443, secure connection always. And what gets sent to the cloud is count. So the depth captures that you saw, where you kind of seen what the device sees, resides on the device under normal operating conditions. And then what is sent from the device to the cloud is +1, -1 with a timestamp, and then some telemetry data and some additional stuff regarding that count. So there's not much data consumption, and it's very secure from a data security standpoint. What type of power source is necessary if we install the 30-day trial device? The power requirements are outlined on a technical document that I can send you, but it's PoE plus is what we would require. I believe the device draws about 13 watts under normal conditions. We also can ship a PoE plus adapter if you want to do wall power and then connect it via Wi-Fi or your guest Wi-Fi network. That's totally doable as well. Yeah, happy to follow up and answer specific technical questions to get you going if you're interested. Brian's got, let me see, some other questions. Okay. I think that's it for questions, actually. Really good ones. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you for your patience on doing our live demo here. We do the demo all the time for customers who come by, but this was the first time doing it on a laptop on a webinar. So really appreciate everyone's patience. And then just want to say thank you to everyone. We will be following up regarding that Amazon gift card. And in the meantime, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to me, Adam@density.io, or you can reach out to Megan at Density.io, or just email sales at Density.io if you have any questions regarding the solution. All right, thanks everyone.